Serious answers to what causes death, more often than people think. Untreated dental problems. If you don't treat cavities, they can lead to heart attacks and strokes. Stairs. Every year, there are around 20 million severe injuries on stairs, and at least 200,000 deaths from the consequences of falls. Both of my grandfathers and grandmothers died from this 3 years ago. My father fell down the stairs. I can't explain how, but it happened around 3 a.m. I woke up exactly 30 seconds before he fell. I remember that moment. It felt terrible. He fell, and of course I heard it. When I left my room, I saw him lying face down, and there was blood coming from his head. I was 17 at the time, and from that moment I considered him dead. An hour later, I was told he was still alive. That was the most painful moment of my life, considering I didn't have a mother. Street fights. We've watched too many Hollywood movies and MMA fights, thinking we can do the same. I've seen cases where a guy was minding his own business and got a rock thrown at his head, ending up paralyzed. He died before hitting the ground. Another case, maybe a year ago, involved a fight where a guy was stabbed in the neck. He bled out so fast and intensely that he couldn't stand for even 10 seconds. Enough with the nonsense. Street fights aren't worth your life. As they say, the winner of a knife fight dies in the ambulance. Driving while sleepy. I had a close call with death. We were at a party and I wasn't drinking. My girlfriend wanted to leave, but I wanted to stay and just sleep there since it was over an hour's drive home. She insisted and we left. When we started driving, I was still awake, but the country road and long distance did their job and I dozed off. I fell asleep for just a second, then immediately swerved off the road. I woke up to the sound of the car crashing. I managed to brake, but that moment snapped me out of my sleep, and the argument with my girlfriend kept me awake for the rest of the ride. We had about 10 minutes left. Now, even if I feel just a little tired, I refuse to drive. It was lucky that we didn't crash head-on into another car, didn't crash into a building, and didn't hit anyone. On average, about 17,000 people die each year in the US from injuries caused by trips and falls. I didn't die, but I broke my ankle by tripping over a curb. An orthopedic doctor compared my injury to a severe skiing accident injury. It was just a curb. Drinking while near large bodies of water. My husband is a lifeguard, and we live in a coastal town. He says that people often get so drunk, they go near the water to pee and fall in. If there's a steep drop and no railing, they're done for. The water in the lake here is very cold, no matter the time of year, and the ocean's cold only in winter. If someone's drunk enough to fall in, they usually can't save themselves. Cold water won't let them stay afloat or swim to safety. High blood pressure. It sneaks up unnoticed. You might not even pay much attention to it, but high blood pressure is a leading cause of many deaths. The real danger is that many symptoms of high blood pressure are considered mild, like frequent headaches. People ignore them until they've caused severe damage to the body. The only way to spot it is to regularly monitor your blood pressure. In the comments, people often ask what to do about high blood pressure, but I'm not a doctor. I know a few things because I'm interested in anatomy. Also, my wife developed preeclampsia during childbirth, and her blood pressure was at 185/130 for hours. Now, nearly 2 years later, she's still taking medication that helps, and her headaches have almost disappeared. But she's still recovering from all that. Shoveling snow. 2 friends of our family died from heart attacks while shoveling snow. It might seem silly to people who live in places where snow removal is part of their life for 6 months each year. I never thought about it either until my father had a heart attack while shoveling snow. The flu. Many people ignore the flu, thinking it will go away on its own. Worldwide, the number of flu cases annually is between 300,000 and 500,000, with the US having between 12,000 and 50,000 cases. The problem is that many people say they have the flu when they actually just have a bad cold. My worst experience was getting the flu as a teenager. I lived with my parents, and after a while, I felt so awful I could barely get up to use the bathroom. My mom had to carry me on an office chair to the toilet. Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes kill 1 million people a year. For comparison, the next deadliest animal is humans, with 135,000 murders annually. Alcoholism. Alcohol causes liver failure, and in the US, this problem is growing. Alcohol doesn't just kill due to liver failure. It also causes heart attacks, hypertension, arrhythmia, strokes, liver cancer, esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, acute pancreatitis, and overdose when mixed with opioids. People take painkillers and alcohol at the same time. Overdose from benzodiazepines mixed with alcohol is another killer. Driving while drunk also leads to deaths. Constipation from it kills around 900 people per year. At 37, I'll give you the oldest piece of advice. Drink more water, especially if you like to drink alcohol. Even if you don't, ladders kill around 300 people a year in the US. Did you know that, according to studies, having a ladder at home is more dangerous than owning a firearm? That's why I have 10 loaded guns at home, in case someone tries to bring a ladder into my house. Loneliness. I'm sure my grandmother died from loneliness. We couldn't visit her during the pandemic. She died alone, not understanding why we didn't love her or visit her. Stress. Your body can only handle a certain amount of stress. That's why stress is called the silent killer. With high blood pressure and the fact that you're sleeping only 5 hours a day because of stress, death will sneak up on you faster than you think. Chiropractors. Although there is no solid evidence, it's estimated that at least 40 people die every year in the US due to the actions of chiropractors. Grief. People think it's a myth, but you can actually die from a broken heart. Grief causes stress, and stress badly affects the body, especially stress that never goes away. Childbirth. In the US, considering it's a developed country, the maternal mortality rate during childbirth is surprisingly high. A close friend of mine developed postpartum preeclampsia and nearly died. Fortunately, an attentive doctor noticed something was wrong and kept her in the hospital for another night. If she had gone home, she would have died within a few hours. Forgetting your child in the car. I have a friend who would throw her shoe into the back seat so she wouldn't forget her child. So, if she forgot the kid, she would remember the moment her bare foot hit the ground. Untreated infections. When an infection spreads in the body, it can lead to sepsis. In essence, your body tries to fight the infection and ends up killing itself. I almost died from sepsis. I went to the doctor here in Australia, and he didn't even ask me how I got infected. He prescribed the wrong antibiotics. A week later, I couldn't even get out of bed. I kept telling myself that the antibiotics hadn't kicked in yet. Eventually, I dragged myself to a local doctor, and she told me I needed to go to the hospital by taxi immediately. If I had waited for an ambulance, I could have had serious complications. The next day, the infectious disease doctor said it might have been too much for my body to handle. These types of cases happen more often than many people think.